Shall we start? When I was trying to decide which poems to read, it occurred to me that we could have a whole reading of Joe's titles, and that would be a wonderful evening. Nobody's ever written titles the way Joe did. I still love David, but he stole one of my poems, which is one of my favorite poems in the world, so I'm going to read it again. This is slightly out of order in the program. This is called Heart Feels the Water. There's another title, Weather Feels the Cotton Hotels, isn't there? Amazing titles. Heart Feels the Water. The fish are staying here and eating. The plant is thin and has very long leaves like insects' legs, the way they bend down. Through the water, the plant breaks from the water, the line of the water and the air. Told. A Song of Autumn. A dog disappears across a small lake. It waits for me. It goes where I want to go. Begins to wake up the flowers. So leave us alone. Because no freedom can choose between faces and hours as destroyed as moving, or cold water in the sun. I can go out now and measure the flies that swing around trees like doctors around a woman full of bars and beauties you could never make free. Not even if the flowers turn to moss and loose sensations for their stems. Indian Suffering. By the way, these are early poems too. You had a lot of early poems. Early and earlier. Indian Suffering. Look, dry streets, still not a gorged begin. He, time in, you love, cruel. What are we doing to our faces? He waits to grow up. Who are you when you don't grow? Would it mean to usually range animal things that satisfied? Is nature a day begun? Bow, wow, wow, I'm going home. The children called him ugly boy. I am not afraid of anything. Boy not afraid. Ugly boy, a magic. Nobody else ever wrote a poem like that. Cool breeze. In the night, in the day, it's possible to be defeated, but how I love. We walk down. The children feel warm, but where is defeat? I look up. The sun is on the wet glass. The beach where I love is now cool. The children are still warm. Grow. I fight and fight. I wake up. The oasis is now dark. I cannot hear anything. The wind is felt, and the stars and the sand, so that no one will be taken by pain. I sit next to the bushes. Hercules couldn't move me, and sleep and dream. The sand, the stars are solid in this sleeping oasis, alone with the desert and the metaphysical cigarette. This is the last. Data. To indicate is to turn off in a world away from ease, rotating in a mean format of oxygen. First make and then made all alone until the end of a blank. The smoke opens up and out comes a word in a new storage of love. Turning off or turning on, the calcareous bases we find ourselves in are set there by it. Divine and more divine each day. No control, but in another world.
Fly. The lights are on. Flesh is next to the body. Drinking out of the glass, and the tide sways you in my arms. A membrane of wisdom, or the lips I spit. Nothing is changed. The lights are on. The sound of the waves through the traffic. I rub your body. Hold me. The waves. A fly alights on the glass. It sings a song with a nerve impulse, and the tide, noticed by the birds, fit to eat, comes back in. The dream of a metropolis, the flies full of energy, full of light, a light. Volcano tears. I'm a blank. The sun is out. The wind is cold. Walking but not going. Why didn't you love me? On the beach, the shells still move. Summer will never change, but you do. You changed. The face of the mystic that wanders around in me, that abandons me when the rising moon surges above the loneliness of this beautiful world. Forgive. Forgive me for my impatience. Forgive me for stupidity. Forgive for not showing love. Forgive for rigidity of the mind and perdition of the soul. Forgive me for tricks of the trade and life's blind hawk of the spirit. Forgive me for forgetting how to forgive and how to forget.
John Coletti, Corrine, Fitzpatrick, and I are going to read the first part of The Hellgate. If it's okay, I just want to say one thing. I really like that Joe Ceravolo, which is how I was taught to say it, I don't know how to say it, was an engineer. I don't know that law of thermodynamics, I still don't know it, but that law that says that matter can't be destroyed but only transformed or changed. I feel cycling through his poems from the very earliest to the very last ones, and I have come across a few, very few singular engineer mystics, and I bow down to them. I'd like to dedicate this portion to Paul Violi, who turned me on to Joe Ceravolo, and also to Villon, who you'll hear in the poem. The Hellgate, Part 1, Testament. Being of sound body and sound mind in my 35th year, with the sounds of sparrows, with the lights of summer falling south, with a performing angel on the hill of paradise, already seen from a garden's ray, with the sense of children, with the dream of their breath still clear, with God clearing away the leaves in my heart, with God cleaning away the computers from my breast and penis, with color and darkness of color, with the sound of sparrows ready, with the blue jays cutting the trees, with the cicada foreign and metallic in the trees, with moans and hearts feeding sky, insulin and mercury renewed in bed, and arms reading the salt ocean or swallowed, with dragon's eggs nestling in those arms, with fire transmuted into birth, with earthquakes of pulse, with deluge of new life dragging through the sea on loneliness in the street's tumult, and night's mist spread on quivering genitals, on mud, between mystery and misery, between eyes quick like mercury to smile and heavy as mercury and sad, between husbands and Psyche and Cupid and St. Anthony's bread, stale and filled with youth, between animals and St. Francis, between fish and retribution. In strength and weakness, in watching and drinking, I leave the ocean and the sea, the womb and Mother Earth, in all her crudeness of violent warmth. I leave mothers in their flesh, fathers in their skins, leave sons with their birds, daughters with their flowers, leave the fish in internal pressure, crabs with bright eyes, the whale looking sideways, hiding a woman in those eyes. I leave the deep insects and flesh they've eaten and been eaten. Even shells and even microbes are left that were never looked at, but who cares? Oh, new ocean, what remains behind you? I leave the organics of dreams and all their convolutions. Music is left and seas of rain, rhythm, movement, rain, leaving motion of rains through tornadoes, hurricanes. I leave everything. I do not take spring with its invisible wand, nor its underground messages. I do not take the seeds licking the dirt, roots fucking the dirt, nor spring's nostrils filled with elixirs of puberty. No, I take no spring with me, and its yellow sun, nor the spring that, if it would last too long, would fill us with antimatter and grace until a deadly swoon. And I do not take summer either, filled with sulfur, filled with graceful ether, in the mind's dull furnaces of race, but that's another thing I do not take.
I leave behind me, tearing up the ground, winding up with the self raped by the ocean and labor that welcomes a friend. I leave behind work as I leave behind hydrogen. All substances rest in one dark, just as one woman rests in old men. All songs, even that of the lark, have to remain, and I leave them all just at the vanishing of pain. Yes, I do not take summer. There's other rain. In the world's heart, I leave the heart murmuring in the light of sleep. No more beating heart, but dreams remain, and the world's compensations. Rivers in their dreamy dialogue to the edges of plain relations with the weather and chemicals alone. I leave helium to the rarefied, and then there's the atmosphere's one. Rivers of night and rivers flying through the viscous mind like rays the sun gives that are also left behind. Yes, I do not take summer. Other rains fill the seas, with deposits of earth mother, with lava, basalt, sand, trees. The earth deposits itself in water, but I leave water too, wherever it can be found in bodies, like saving it out of the fire. Now that the word is out and the action is left, now that the word is falling back on itself and the action is out, now that the word is in and the action is falling on itself, now that the falling is made out of the action of the word and the falling has nothing to do, O word, that releases the action itself. Now that a tender word formed is in action and in order to revive the falling out of sounds, releases from the oxygen of vivisected flight. Released from things, I leave behind the mind and the fingers touching people, the soft, the pulsating, the rigid, the curved body frame, sleeping within or without the night. Released from people, I leave close and far, full and empty, and the embrace, which is hardest of all to desert, like gold, the color of sand. And I leave crying and laughing what's kept me till now. Wars and murders stretch the corners of the earth, stiff with passion and flight, power and falling. I spit on it and shit on it, and I leave this poem to be eaten and digested as another poet left 500 years ago. I close the gap and lock it forever between science and art, between matter and spirit, and God leaks through like a sieve, like argon settling on the marshes, like crying for lost love, really lost in the clouds of power and denial. No picture of starvation can say what starvation is, because it is beyond the point, beyond the body and beyond the look, deeper than good and devil and angel. But it's this whole earth found like a stone on the beach with its continents embedded in it, beautiful, subtle, and malicious, filled with toothless computers, electronic wonders of silence with their triggers of numbers squirting your eye, already living in a fake future, getting smaller and smaller to be embedded in your chest, a new heart. How I smell that part of the future against the friction on earth. Oh, let day never come, let night never fall, let them both remain, flooded with gold and heavy as an undiscovered planet. Duplicate living and duplicate death until the formula is out of control, until Mars wanders away, until the planets sacrifice hell. Oh, rivers of love, come rediscover. Turn words into hands, turn water into blood, turn gold into flesh. Let me touch the skin, the shaking and movement underneath, the real silence just once. A beam of light, a beam of night. A glimmer of nitrogen leaves my soul. I walk until my legs are gone. I sing until my throat is dry and falls apart. I look into the dark until the pupils are as wide as sockets. Nitrogen leaves my soul, and my brain becomes a leaf in the October thrust.
My hands, my legs, my arms are more than I can handle to embrace everything I see. The Holy Ghost, platinum with sorrow, returns to its nest. I see it. It's as close as my eyelids, alighting on that building, a kiss of gray wings, turning its back, now its front, filled with profusion that desolates me until I become. I leave art, all the innocent attempts, conceptual, magnetic, mercurial, in its absolute trial. I leave digging and building, planting and growing in the mystery of life, in man and woman as I know them now, their bodies painted with earth, alum, and minerals, sinewy, soft, dark, or light. I leave children, the ultimate mystery of life. I leave children running, playing, fighting, spitting, traveling, progressing, regressing, surprising. I leave them their ultimate mystery of life. It's the future I give to youth, and the past I send out like invisible rays for something to touch along the way. Even the rainbow, even a rainbow, even rainbow. And as I move, I see that my mind is recreated, and that although poetry is the beginning to the primal of life, there is another beginning to life. The beginning without beginning. The new, the old, the pains, sufferings, ecstasies, and joys. The resting, the shade, the light, and the grain of bio-mind. My heart washes itself in without sentiment or memory, without the unconscious mystery of movement. Swimming in the ocean of humanness, animals, insects, birds, every organism that grows. Every organism that grows, dies, or sleeps. And this rhythm of death is the brother of life, straining together with the mystery of life. But why does leaving have the same crying as the spring ending in a rock? But where the sounds, the touches, the loneliness in spring of a closing eye. Autumn rainbow, autumn light, in the shade of everything, turn here, return there, overflowing our songs away. I sit here nude, my pen is in hand, and a voice comes to me like a black princess, somewhere out in the sea. Come back, come back. Return to me my clothed. I dive into water. Fish pull off all my clothes. I glide towards the mortar of the center of my soul. I pass out of my life, my love, my central dream. A fly, an organism, a cloud, a being. Bombs break around me. Tears and wailings flow inside, outside, and through me. I try to row, but all of Earth and planets and suns are in my eyes, in my nose, in my ears. I pass out of my life and my love, my central dream. And finally, I'm just going to read one piece from Henry. I got in touch with Rosemary many, many years ago. Somehow, it wasn't snail mail, but it was close. It was like a fan mail thing. And she sent me a copy of Henry and Oh Moon. Oh Moon, how ghost you are. Come closer. Let me kiss you and touch those lips of dry eyes.